Hello everyone. Today we're going to do some ink flowers. I've taped my paper to my board. I'm using alcohol inks today. I've got a hairdryer at the ready and a paper straw. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is create a little bit of a background. So I've got this very sort of pale pearly colour. I'm just going to do a few little splashes of there. You don't really have to think about this, just sort of wherever it falls. And that's enough of that. And then I'm just going to go on with a little bit of this turquoisey colour, plop that on, onto the areas where there is the pearly. There we are. And I also want to chuck on a bit of yellow there, because it's a kind of soft colour. Just anywhere where it goes, and maybe a bit of this one. Okay, something like that. Then I'm going to get my straw and do some blowing. And the difference with this type of ink, it doesn't actually move so well. I've got other inks I use that, I love that when it goes like that. Other inks I use that spread more over the page, but I'll show you those in another go. Yeah. Basically, if I carried on working with this without drying it first, all that greeny, yellowy colour would then come up into the colours above. And you'd end up, so supposing I put a pink on there, you'd end up with like a real brackish, not particularly nice colour. So you need to quickly dry those off. Okay. But it's nice having maybe a little bit of it coming up through. Then you hold that one over there like that. Firm blow. Then I do one like that. Leave it. I'm just going to come all the way over here. So today I'm going to have a go at doing like flowers, I think. And where it's a bit like where it's dark, we do it darker. So where the similar sort of thing, where I'm using a light colour, I'm going to fill it with a darker colour. It's how these inks seem to work best. And you can also blow that one like that. Oh, that's quite nice. Oh, that's lovely. So it's just an experimentation, really. Put some maybe orange. I wouldn't want to put a yellow in there because it wouldn't really show. And what's quite nice is if you put the colours on first, you do actually get that bleeding through, which makes it more interesting than if you just done them on the page by themselves. I might lift that up. So if you have a purple, for example, that's particularly dark, just add some yellow to it and it will sort that out. And one thing I'm doing is I'm holding the ink quite close to the page when I'm putting it on. Otherwise, it tends to drip everywhere. But that's another effect. It's also nice. But not if you don't want it. It's a bit annoying. I'm going to lift that one. Oh, I don't know. I might leave that one at the moment. So all the time when I'm creating, I'm sort of keeping an eye on my picture to make sure that something's not bleeding in a direction that I don't want it to. Oh, that's a beautiful colour. Stunning. And I love it the way it sort of flowers out like that. So pretty. And the different colours. I really love this with the red. It's absolutely amazing. Do another one like that. And it's also different. Supposing if I leave that a little moment to let it very slightly dry off, because they dry off pretty quick. You get different effects. The amount of bleed is different. Oh, that's beautiful. It's a bit like when we used to work on experiment with ink and blotting paper when we were at school. I remember doing it in science. Similar to that, really. Oh, that's so pretty. Just going to leave that there for a minute. Sometimes I just like when you just blow it like that. It's just had a really pretty effect. With me, I get so excited, I don't know which colours to use next. And they all fan out slightly differently. The nature of inks is always slightly different, and I find these with whatever ink I use. Oh, so pretty. Oh, that's so lush, but I just don't want that to bleed too much. So it's a teeny weeny dot. I don't know where to go next. So that's with a paler dot. We'll see what that looks like. But I do prefer them where they're more impactful. Look at that one. Absolutely stunning. So you could do a whole page full of poppies, for example. How wonderful. And I never worry about what shape they come out. I mean, flowers aren't all an even shape. I think when we paint something ourselves and we replicate it, it can almost end up a little bit too tidy, too perfect. And nature is not perfect. Well, it is perfect, but it's uneven. That's where it gets its beauty. Right, I want to dry those off a bit, just gently. So you can actually control how it's bleeding. So I love how that's bleeding, but I want to dry it off before it's bled and made the whole area change. So let's have a little bit of a dry for a minute. So this particular colour, you have to keep an eye on areas like this, because you don't want suddenly to transform your whole area into a brown pool, which is very easily done, actually. Far easier than you would realise. So I want to lift that up a bit. So here's nice and dry. We're quite safe working here. It's nice that you can see a bit of what's gone on underneath. So some people might prefer it looking a bit more perfect, where you don't have anything underneath. But I like to have that bit behind, that bit of background, that feeling of overlay, that bleeding through. It makes it, for me, so much more interesting to look at. And it's just an experiment of what colour looks beautiful, overlaid, next to, bleeding through. It's just wonderful. And you can't control it. So you couldn't, well, you probably you wouldn't enjoy it too much if you're too much of a perfectionist, because you really can't dictate which way this is going to go, how it's going to end up. And I think they make really beautiful greetings cards. Do little blows like that. You could do tiny little directed blows like that, which is quite nice if you want to fill in a little gap. I want to maybe take a bit into here, see what that does. Oh, that's nice. Tiny bit of yellow. So you're literally putting in titchy bits. And you can just build it up like that, to be honest. You know, if you don't want to fill in the whole area, you don't want it to totally bleed into there or ruin the colour of what you got there. Or I really like that area. So I wouldn't want to put too much of the orange in and completely ruin that. To take the colour off to the side. There we are. Nearly done, I would say. So enjoyable. I would recommend everyone to give it a go. That's just my take on it. Flowers. So easily accomplished and yet so fun. I hope you will join me another day. I'm just going to dry this off. Oh, like that. Dry it off. See, this purple area is completely lifted up. It's become a lot more interesting than if we'd have left it. But the way to do that is to dry it off, but not completely. Dry it off a little and then come back and rework it. There we are. There is my flower picture.